the coming of post-translational society. Little is known about China in Europe and America. Although the Chinese were enviable thinkers for over 3 millennia, almost nothing of their originality has reached us intact. The reason for this is simple. The Western world guarded against foreign knowledge with an old language trick: translation. This has to stop. If a world without translation seems a bold proposal, think about how mystics and saints once frowned upon the coming of the secular order. It may be surprising to learn that first, in science, a translation is a transformation. One thing changes into another. And second, that a computer never translates. Only human beings mistake, say, a verse from the English Bible as the words of Jesus Christ. That's of course impossible. Jesus spoke Aramaic, some say Hebrew, certainly not English. The discovery that a translation is always different from the original is a small but significant revolution. In the past, when people saw a word and its translation side by side, they obviously noticed a difference in form and shape. In order to explain this irritation away, philosophers invented a ghost, the ghost of meaning. For the sake of this metaphor, let us call meaning sauce, as in ketchup sauce. Historians would then go around and construe something like, those two words have the same sauce, or this one has a different sauce. Mysterious as this sounds, people still believe in this invisible magical dominion called meaning, and they still build all their humanities around it. Translation is a shameful secret. When it becomes a nation-state's strategy, it turns into a ruthless theft of cultural property. Plato in the school of philosophers simply branded all organized thought as philosophy, which then was sponsored by Christianity and has now become the world's greatest syndicate. Even today, China, India, Iran, former Persia, and Japan are expected to award PhD degrees, doctors of philosophy, even if what their people studied had nothing to do with it. Entire branches of humanity are disowned of their intellectual genius this way, yet historians still don't want to talk about it. Yes, some Chinese key terms escaped the translational onslaught, words like Dao, Kung Fu, Yin and Yang, or even Dim Sum, the Cantonese steamed food. But that is just a tiny fraction of the tens of thousands of terminologies, words like Wenming, Shengren and Tianxia, which are still out there, buried in the Chinese text, beneath all too convenient Western translations. The first European missionaries wanted to Christianize China and saw a biblical messiah in Kongzi. Hence Rujia, this is a real name of China's tradition, was renamed into Confucianism, following the same logic that made Christ personify our Christianity. The truth is that Master Kung was just one of many thinkers, yet the Europeans got their way. Linguists can now reconstruct translation history and trace vocabularies like scientists trace migration. Yes, languages do morph, dialects emerge, terms are created, letters change, and two words never have identical fingerprints. But there's no meaning in words. Definitions may help us to distinguish between two concepts, but they are just this, more words. Dictionaries are man-made. They were often believed to be the word of God, while foreign languages were simply confused. European people, to this day, swear that they are able to express all human thought with just one set of vocabularies, theirs. Everyone who studied a foreign language knows that this is not true, yet we prefer to keep silent, often for fear of being accused of cultural treason. In the past, the world witnessed unprecedented historical hubris. For example, any German philosopher like Leibniz, Kant or Hegel could explain what the Chinese thought without ever having visited China or knowing a single Chinese terminology. This was good enough for the 17th or even 20th century. Today we know much better. Cultures have a purpose. One of their main tasks is to differentiate themselves from each other, and we need to give all cultures credits for that and on what they spend their time on and what they've created. And the evidence for what cultures created is in their linguistic fossils, their vocabularies. No archaeologist would dare to falsify or displace a fossil finding or obscure its existence just because it threatens his prerogative. But in the humanities, this is a rule. The discovery of a Chinese corpus of knowledge that wasn't there if China never existed. That makes any non-Chinese look what? Limited, constrained, ignorant at best. That's why our scientists, the impartial, taxonomize the entire animal and plant kingdom and the material world, while no such thing crossed the minds of our humanists. As a result, we live in a crazy world where the general Western public cannot distinguish between, say, an ulama, a jinze, a hirshang, a guru or a rabbi. To them, it's all priests. We don't need to memorize all languages, computers can do that, but we must pay attention to foreign key terminologies that are untranslatable, and we must promote them into the future global language. We must end translation.